If you're thinking about moving to Atlanta, specifically 3 of the most sought after parts of North Atlanta, you're going to want to watch this video before you purchase your new home. Because I'm going to share with you today what real estate agents don't tell you about living in Suwanee, Johns Creek, or Alpharetta, Georgia. And if you'll stay with me till the end, I'll give you some unique insights on how to choose the type of home that is best suited for you, so you won't want to miss this. Hey everyone, I'm Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes, helping people from all over the country make a move and find their dream home here in Metro Atlanta. North Atlanta is an extremely desirable suburban location, and without a doubt, 3 of the most sought after areas to live are Suwanee, Johns Creek, and Alpharetta. But how do you know what each city is really like? You may wonder if you can just randomly pick one and start looking for a home. After all, they're all on the north side and they're all within about 20 miles of each other. Aren't they all pretty much the same? Sure, the demographics are very similar, and Atlanta traffic, no matter where you work and live, will factor into your decision. But a knowledgeable realtor can explain the subtle differences which aren't widely known. And some of these different facets just might tip the scale for you toward one city or another. Today I'm going to give you some comparisons and contrasts as I share with you what real estate agents don't tell you about living in these 3 cities. Let's get started. The first thing you should know is that all 3 of these cities in North Atlanta are definitely in a housing bubble all on their own, which means the market for each neighborhood is still robust, both in cost and demand. To give you a sense of it, as of June 2025, there has been a 3.3% increase of homes sold nationally. But Suwanee has sold 28% more homes this year than last, and Johns Creek is up 13.1% from this time last year. Only Alpharetta is lagging just a little bit at 1% less than last year's numbers of homes sold. But that's percentage-wise. Alpharetta does lead the trio in actual number of homes sold through June this year, which again speaks to the North Atlanta housing market. And while 2 of these 3 cities are considered only slightly a seller's market, one of them is very much a seller's market, and I'll tell you which one in just a minute. Let's look at these 3 cities individually on a map so you know where they are in relation to each other in Atlanta. Alpharetta is north of the Atlanta perimeter, straight up Interstate Georgia 400, which connects to both Interstate 285 and 7585 through downtown Atlanta. It is 18 miles from Buckhead. You've all heard of Buckhead, right? It's 26 miles from downtown and 36 miles from the airport. Like any metropolitan area, there are a few smaller airports in parts of Atlanta where you can charter private planes, but when I say the airport, I'm referring, of course, to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the busiest in the world. A little bit east of Alpharetta, Suwanee is 29 miles from Buckhead, 33 miles from downtown, and 42 miles from Hartsfield. The easiest path into Atlanta or toward the airport is to hop onto Interstate 85 heading south. Johns Creek is also northeast of Atlanta. It's a tiny bit closer, 21 miles from Buckhead, 27 miles from downtown, and 37 miles from Hartsfield. But an Atlanta or airport commute is neither quick nor easy. You see, Johns Creek is slightly landlocked on roads and highways without direct interstate access like Alpharetta or Suwanee. Awesome if you want a more secluded sanctuary for your home. Not so awesome if you don't work from home, since you'll have to drive a bit to get to either Georgia 400, I-285, or I-85. And if you commute to, well, however far toward Atlanta you work, or if you travel for a living and frequently go to the airport, you're going to have to build an extra 20 to 30 minutes each way, every time. And that's assuming there are no accidents. This is definitely something real estate agents do not always tell you. So as you try to decide whether to start looking for a home in Alpharetta, Johns Creek, or Suwanee, it might help to know how densely populated they are, the lay of the land, and wouldn't you like to know who your neighbors will be? What do they look like? Let's take a look. The racial makeup is very similar in all 3. Johns Creek's racial representation for the top 3 are 49.82% for white population, 28.31% for the Asian population, and an 11.19% in African American population. Suwanee is 51.75% white, 28.08% Asian, and 11.93% Black. Alpharetta has a 56.88% white population, 20.69% for Asian, and 10.91% African American or Black racial makeup. All 3 have 6 to 8% their total population as 2 or more races. So these are the faces of your neighbors. Another commonality is the percentage of married people. In Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and Suwanee, at least 53% of the population are married. The rest, divorced, widowed, or otherwise single. That reflects much of the country, so North Atlanta isn't an outlier, and whichever suburb you decide to call home, you'll probably fit right in. So that's race and marital status. But how crowded is each city? Suwanee has an estimated population of 24,200. Alpharetta is the most established and developed of the three with approximately 67,800 residents. But here's the big surprise. Johns Creek has the largest population of the three of them, a whopping 80,100 residents. And I'll tell you something most realtors don't tell you, and it's because there are more places to live than there are places to shop. If you look on a map for the nearest Costco or Trader Joe's, they're not right in Johns Creek. Right now, the largest and most popular retailers and restaurants are in neighboring small cities like Duluth, Beaufort, and especially Alpharetta. And this can be appealing if you like to run errands or enjoy fine dining close to where you live and work without fighting Atlanta's famous traffic. And traffic will slow you down, even on Saturdays and Sundays. And yes, Alpharetta beckons you with the convenience of all the big box retailers nearby, luxury goods and services, and some of the most sought after affluent homes in all of the Atlanta area. But what if you prefer less retail and more neighborhood? Remember that I mentioned Johns Creek has 80,000 some odd people living there? Yes, that's not by accident. Johns Creek is zoned mostly for residential construction in a mix of both luxurious and more affordable but well-appointed homes, which has made it a very hot real estate market. Anyone living in Johns Creek for a while may have mixed feelings about its popularity. Pull up the ladder, they found our treehouse. I'm not kidding. Johns Creek is now considered literally the best place to live in all of the US. US News and World Report just ranked Johns Creek, Georgia #1 in their best places to live for 2025 and 2026. Factors in giving Johns Creek this coveted highest ranking in the nation include quality education, low crime rate, moderate cost of living, and mild climate. All that in addition to beautiful homes with spacious lots, meticulously landscaped yards, and people with a strong sense of community. Now, remember, I mentioned that one of the three cities was in much more of a seller's market than the other two. Obviously, it's Johns Creek. Since word has gotten out about this best place to live moniker, if you're leaning toward that part of Atlanta, you'd better get busy because it's a super competitive area. I'm helping a client right now move from New York City, and we've been looking at homes for 8 months in Johns Creek. One of the reasons is because they're looking for a particular floor plan, and it's hard to come by with the low inventory, but also with the fact that when we do find one, it is super competitive. We're in multiple offer situations over asking price here in fall of 2025 when we're experiencing an overall market shift in the entire metro Atlanta area, but it doesn't seem to show here in Johns Creek. But you can't conclude just because of that ranking that Johns Creek is the ideal place for you and your family. Let me tell you about other factors you should consider in determining where in North Atlanta you should live, because all three of these cities are extremely desirable for different reasons. And one thing I haven't mentioned is safety. How do the three compare? Real estate agents don't like to talk about crime rates, but I can reassure you that none of these three cities, Suwanee, Johns Creek, or Alpharetta, has that much to worry about. If you look at crime rates, you'll see what I did, with 1 being low crime and 100 being high crime. Alpharetta has a violent crime rate of only 7.6 and property crime rate of 29.8. Johns Creek's violent crime rate is a mere 6.6 and property crime rate is 17. In Suwanee, violent crime rate is 9.0 and property crime rate of 17.4. All very respectable figures considering that the US average for violent crime is 22.7 and 35.4 for property crime. All three of our North Atlanta cities here are well below the national average. Now, obviously, there isn't zero crime. These are suburbs of a major metropolitan city. But what it means to you and your family is that you don't have to worry if you move to Alpharetta, Johns Creek, or Suwanee. You won't have to sleep with one eye open. But you should research crime statistics and the exact zip code and subdivision you consider for your new home, because a lot of real estate agents gloss over this if they mention crime at all. One thing I will say that based on the code of ethics, I can't really say for sure this area is safe and this area is not safe. I can only point you to the statistics and then you can make your decision from there. Of course, one of the biggest determining factors in crime is household income along with the city poverty rate. So how do these three stack up there? Pretty well, as it turns out. In Johns Creek, the median household income is $160,185. For married families, it jumps to $189,269. Poverty rate? Only 3.92%. we're in good shape here. Alpharetta has a median household income of $146,581 and $207,674 for married families. The poverty rate here is only slightly higher at 5.33%. So far, it looks like most of the people who can afford to live in Johns Creek or Alpharetta do. Now here's where the difference in affordability for these three cities shows itself. And I'll get to home prices that will reflect these stats in a minute. It's not massive, but Suwanee has a median household income of $105,878, a bit lower than the others. For married families, only $138,011. And here, the poverty rate is almost twice as high as Alpharetta at 10.04%. But don't let this scare you. For reference, Atlanta's poverty rate is a whopping 17.87%. And don't forget, Suwanee, Georgia is one of the newer, more affluent parts of North Atlanta. I purposely grouped it in with Alpharetta and Johns Creek because I wanted to show you that Suwanee is perhaps the most affordable of the three. Suwanee is the place amongst these three cities you may be able to find luxury living at a better price. So let's look at some home sales in the market in each so you can see what I mean. Johns Creek, as of June 2025, has a median sold price of $782,500. Alpharetta is the next highest at $747,000, but the real bargain is in Suwanee at $659,000. I know a few of you may be thinking, $500,000 or more is a bargain? Well, these are median numbers. Some have sold higher and some have been lower. So there are homes in these elegant neighborhoods that cost less and cost more. The way this video has shaped up, we're painting a picture of each of these three suburban cities as similar, but unique in their own way. And the subtle variances could make a big difference to you depending on your desired lifestyle. First, we view Alpharetta as affluent with upscale shopping, dining, and conveniences all around, but congested. And Johns Creek as sort of a secluded utopia of lush green lawns and trees, but set so far back from the interstate that you need to spend half the day driving to and from. So perhaps the mama bear in this story might just be Suwanee. This is one of my listings that sold not too long ago, 1370 Sunny's Halo, and it has 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and a 2-car garage. Now, unlike Alpharetta and Johns Creek, which are both in North Fulton County, Suwanee is mostly in Gwinnett, and this particular house is just barely in Forsyth County and not far from Lake Lanier. And here's where I'll give you some final tips that most real estate agents don't tell you about living in Suwanee, Johns Creek, or Alpharetta. Yes, brand new construction is always appealing, and there's plenty of it in Suwanee, Johns Creek, and Alpharetta, but this home illustrates what I wanted to share with you, and that is first, you can live your dream home in an already established upscale neighborhood, and in a beautiful home that is more than 15 years old. And because of the timeless exterior, sought after features, a gourmet kitchen, and spacious rooms with high ceilings, this well-constructed home was built to last. It rightly commands top dollar. Still, you certainly will find new construction all over these areas, but don't be too quick to disregard a slightly older home because in it, you might find everything you've been looking for. And that brings me to my second and final tip along these lines. Whichever city you choose to call home, almost any house you pick in Suwanee, Johns Creek, or Alpharetta will not be cheap, but it will be solid and it will hold its value year after year. So that, my friends, wraps up another video of insights about moving to North Atlanta and what real estate agents might not tell you about living in these three cities. So again, I'm Tim Trevathan. If you're looking to make a move to this area, please reach out to me. You can call, text, email, however you want to get a hold of me, and would be happy to help you make the move smoothly to call Metro Atlanta your home.